In recent years, we've watched speed increasingly become the way that players make it to the upper echelons of the game's ranking system. But among this sea of new players, Ivaxa is singular. When you look at his top scores, they aren't on Lionhearted or Glory Days, but instead maps like the Deceit that have players as skilled as Emrek or Scytho only achieving B ranks while he has an S rank. His tapping speed has allowed him to pull off scores that could previously only be done in dreams or cheating software. And in doing this, he's become one of the most fascinating players in the game. He's done all of this in just a little over 4 years, with significantly fewer hours than it took me to get to 4-digit, making him one of the fastest, if not the fastest improving players since Emrek. So, how did he get to this level of speed mastery? And what does the future have in store for him? This is the story of Ivaxa, Osu's fastest player.
Are you legit?
What the fuck? Ivaxa's Osu journey began when he was just 9 years old, in 2019, randomly mashing buttons on YouTube, which caused him to end up finding a replay of someone playing the Big Black, which in turn made him want to play the game. He immediately loved the rhythm game concept, and this pushed him to keep playing at the beginning, at the time just for fun, although he clearly didn't feel that his current level of skill was sufficient, since he would show off to his friends by watching Wolf's Big Black plays and tapping along to make it look like he was the one making the play. In his early days, Ivaxa was influenced by a few players. He was inspired by Griffin, who is infamous for holding the #1 spot on thousands of beginner maps. He also looked up to Emrek and Whitecap, which makes sense, as at the time they showed the pinnacle of aim, which would quickly become Ivaxa's forte. And he also had a rival in Only Hadley, who was an impressive player in his own right, currently ranked number 237. But as you'll soon see, competing with Ivaxa is a Herculean task that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Like many players, at the start of his career, his interest in the game seemed to ebb and flow. There'd be months where he'd put in 2,000 plays, and others where he would have as little as 25 plays. But after a few months of this, Ivaxa, like many others, began to play farm maps. These were exclusively jump maps, like Haramachi Clover and Make a Move. Although these are known as some of the maps most effective at abusing the PP system, these plays still showed a staggering rate of improvement. He went from 200 PP scores in late 2020 to 440 PP in May of 2021. After this, though, he would have an 8-month stretch where he played the game very little, because he just simply wasn't that interested at the time. But following this break, he would make a triumphant return to the game, setting his first 500 and 600 just a few months after getting back. These scores, like before, were on jump maps like Guess Who's Back and Pedora. Following this, he would have another bout of inactivity, which would luckily be his last. And when he came back in early 2023, it just so happened to be the beginning of the Rapid Trigger era. The Wooting 2 HE had been released in 2021. While it initially didn't catch the attention of most top players, a tweet in September of 2022 that described the keyboard in a conspiratorial tone, saying that speed players didn't want you to know about it, certainly did. And it wasn't long until the utility of the keyboard became widely known across the entire Osu community. At this time, Ivaxa was just entering 3-digit, and still almost exclusively farming jump maps. Over the next few months, he would make it even more clear how gifted he is, since he got his first 700 not too long after returning to the game, and followed that with many, many more. These months were some of the first where he played a lot and consistently, and because of this, he would gain ranks at an incredible speed, halving his rank from 1,000 to top 500 in just a single month. At this time, I think it would have been fair to call Ivaxa an aim-1 trick. Most of the maps he played were not just jump maps, but specifically jump maps that had very little rhythmic complexity, as well as few speed sections. And while talking to him, he said at the time any streams above 200 BPM were a struggle. This would soon change though, as he would acquire a SEO device, O3C, which is a keypad with rapid trigger functionality. The months that would follow this would be some of the most eventful in any player's career ever. There's one map that I think encapsulates the rapid nature of Ivaxa's ascent to speed stardom: ROG Unlimitation. Because in just a few short months, Ivaxa went from having trouble with anything resembling speed to a 90% one miss on the map, which clocks in at a brutal 330 BPM. This was only the beginning though, since within 2 months he had improved this twice, with a 93% and then a 94% FC, which was his first 900 PB play. And then just a month after those, a nearly 96% play, which is his first 1000 PB play. and just a few days after this, he would enter the game's top 100. During this time where he was improving at ROG, Ivaxa would make an interesting and uncommon switch in his setup, going from tablet to mouse. Now, his relationship with each input style was already fairly uncommon, since he switched away from mouse when he was well into 4 digits, meaning he was able to aim pretty well with both already. This partially explains the change, but when I talked to him, he also explained that while he believes that mouse can hinder aim because of mouse drift, it can actually help flow aim, especially with speed because it minimizes shaking while playing streams. This is why it makes sense that as he became more of a speed-oriented player, he switched from tablet to mouse, a playstyle which he maintains to this day. And fun fact, he's still really good with a tablet and has an account on a private server which is currently ranked 4th on their leaderboard, with multiple 1k PB plays, all while playing exclusively with a tablet. Following his 96% on ROG, he would begin to grind a map, one that would come to define him as he came into his own as a speed player: the Deceit. Specifically the ranked version of Pishyfat's map of the Deceit, which with DT is a breakneck 375 BPM and does not pull any punches. The map contains almost constant 8 to 20 note streams, with the chorus involving many repeated streams that push players' stamina and speed to the utmost extent. Because of these features and the map being 375 BPM, its leaderboard was filled with C and D ranks, with the number 1 score being Parakeet's 1100 combo with 80% accuracy. When first attempting the map, Ivaxa would not immediately take number 1, but he would achieve a not yet seen level of accuracy by pulling off a nearly 88% accuracy score, with 500 combo. Later that same day, he would improve on this with an 838 combo, 89% score, with just 7 misses. And then again on that same day, he would improve his combo to 1300, which got him number 1 spot on the DT leaderboards, far ahead of anyone else on the map. This seemed to cause him to realize just how good he was at this type of insanely fast streaming, and after this he would set a number of incredible scores, like on the 360 BPM U, where he achieved the best accuracy DTFC, beating out speed giants like Murami and Enri. He then moved up to the ultra difficulty on the map, which is over 7 stars no mod, and only has 11 passes to this day. He would achieve an astonishing 90% 1 miss, beating Murami's accuracy, which was the next best on the map, by nearly 5%. He would then FC the map for over 900 PP. Now, I don't only want to focus on speed, because Ivaxa is also an incredibly impressive aim player. And in the same month, he got the first 3-mod FC on Browie's Brazil guest difficulty, a Noise DT 4 miss, which is 942 PP, and a 1200 PP choke. Because of these, and many other scores, Ivaxa would get to the top 50. Shortly after this, we would start to see him single-tap streams, which would quickly become one of his most known skills. The most impressive of these at the time was probably First Storm, which is 190 BPM, which is equivalent to 380 BPM jumps. The month following this would be even more insane, since he would almost immediately skip 1100 PP, when he set a 1220 PP play on When It Falls. This would also be his first 10-star FC, as well as one of the first 10-star FCs in the game. He then set a 1.6k choke on Brazil, which would have been the mouse PP record if he were to have FC'd. These plays were some of the first aim scores of his to get a huge amount of attention, and as a consequence, this would also be when some people would start to get suspicious of him. The comments on his Twitter post of the Brazil play aren't exactly accusing him of cheating, but many express suspicion because of the belief that he had not done a live play. These comments are pretty funny though when you take into account that he had live streamed with a hand cam back when he was grinding ROG nearly 5 months before, and had continued to do so, including streaming that month and playing just as well as his non-stream scores would lead you to believe. This would not be the last time Ivaxa had to deal with doubt over his scores, especially because of what he'd do going forward. Starting with a Brazil 1200 PP play with 3-mod, once again skipping 1100, which brought him to the top 25. Mind you, he reached the top 100 only 4 months prior, and within days of this, he would set scores like a Connie Do Luck 3-mod FC, and a Choo Choo Lovely Mooney Mooney, you know what, I'm not saying that whole thing, but he FC'd that as well for 1049 PP. These, along with many other scores, led him to reach the top 15 less than a month after reaching the top 25. Sprinkled in with these aim farm scores are some truly exceptional speed scores, all of which are at unfathomably high BPMs, like his score on Shimbatsu Otodori, which is 375 BPM, where he achieved the first S rank on the map with a 97% accuracy as well. He would also get the first DTB rank on image material, which is 390 BPM. But these scores were really just Ivaxa gearing up for what would become his crowning achievement, since on the last day of March he would go back to the Deceit, initially setting the first A rank on the map with a 93.35% 6 miss. He would then improve that to a 94.97, which if he were to FC would be worth 1625 PP. And it only took a few more attempts that day before he would get a truly unprecedented score on the map, which the likes of Emrek, Murami, Saito, and Zestiny couldn't get higher than a B rank on. Ivaxa would achieve a 1 slider break S rank.
I'm the best at choking. Oh my.
This is one of the best scores in the game, and it puts Ivaxa in a league of his own when it comes to maps of this speed. Without the slider break, it would have been the game's first 11-star FC and a 1500 PP play. Even with it, the play is still worth 1360 PP. This being done less than a year after he started playing speed seriously shows unreal potential, especially since at this point he had less than 1,000 hours in the game. Doing this right off the back of multiple 1.2k aim scores also shows impressive versatility, since the Deceit is pretty much a pure speed score. He would also not stop there, and on the same day he would get a 96.3% score on Speed of Link, which is 395 BPM. In the days to follow, he would set a 3-mod score on the Deceit with 90% accuracy, which is over 10% better accuracy than the next best with these mods. On top of this, he would pull off a 93% A rank on the 7-star map of Yomiuri with DT, which was the first A rank on the map. He then FC'd the 375 BPM Shinbatsu Otodori for 1076 PP. On top of this, he would set some of his best aim scores, like a gotta go fast DT spun out FC, which yes, he did single tap despite the map being 375 BPM. He would also return to use ultra difficulty, achieving a DT FC with 95.5% accuracy, which beat his other FC from just 5 months before by over 5%. I also have to talk about his single tap scores in this time, since he'd evolved since his first Storm single tap, and moved on to scores like a Euphoria single tap, which is so insane. The map is 8 stars and 190 BPM, and it contains a 350 note long stream, and he managed to get above 95% accuracy. And his single tap scores don't end there, since he also has the first single tap B rank on the easier Yomiuri, which is 220 BPM streams, or the equivalent to tapping 440 BPM jumps. With this insane single tap speed and his stream scores, I think it would be hard to deny that Ivaxa is the fastest player Osu's ever seen. Now obviously Rapid Trigger helps, but no one else with Rapid Trigger is pulling off single tap or stream scores like Ivaxa's. Since his Euphoria single tap, Ivaxa hasn't played quite as much as before, but that hasn't stopped him from setting a few of his coolest scores, like his play on the Violation with DT, with 90% accuracy, beating Emrek's accuracy, which is the next best on the map, by 3%, and everyone besides Emrek's accuracy by over 10%. Ivaxa is one of the most promising players this game has ever seen. In the last 9 months, he's gone from almost exclusively playing AIM to becoming a speed demon. His unreal improvement has raised questions about whether or not he could soon be a contender for the #1 spot. And honestly, if he keeps progressing like this, then it doesn't seem all too unlikely. I think it's especially telling that on the Deceit and Rat Race and the top of the leaderboard is Emrek and Ivaxa. Only time will tell whether Ivaxa follows through with the potential that he clearly has, but he's definitely someone to watch out for in this new era of Osu. And I think that's pretty cool.